Following a season 3 that really went exactly how we were hoping it would. Essentially, tank, be as bad as possible while still being good enough to develop some young guys, and that is exactly what we saw. First off, we did see Kenneth Walker III make it to the Pro Bowl along with Kwity Paye. We also saw a lot of the depth players get starting spots. Even a UDFA quarterback came in and performed really well. It led us to a 4-3 record, sitting with a great opportunity to draft a top 5 projected quarterback. And we officially end season 3 by taking a look at the Super Bowl. It is a 24-14 win for the Denver Broncos, their 5th Super Bowl win, with an outside linebacker being the MVP in Emmanuel Beatty. You can see the yearly award winners over on the right hand side. We did not win any. We had some guys in the running like Kwity Paye, Kenneth Walker III. Also, that UDFA quarterback was 3rd in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So there was some good play, but we clearly were trying to tank, and it worked out pretty well for us. And that will round out season 3. Let's start by taking a look at retirements. And for us specifically, we did have one. Graham Glasgow does retire. He became a starter for us last season and did pretty well, but we clearly aren't going to happen for this next season. And one thing to note after going through the entire retiree list, Kirk Cousins is not on it. So if for some reason, which shouldn't happen, we don't get our quarterback, we could still possibly look to have another stint with Kirk Cousins, but hopefully we do get that draftable top 5 projected quarterback. But for now, the biggest thing that we needed to take care of are some re-signings, and we definitely do have some that we need to get taken care of. Mike Onwenu, one of our starting offensive linemen. We need not lose out on any of these guys, so we're gonna have to bump up some numbers for sure in hopes that we keep him around. Luckily, we have a decent chunk of money, 71 mil, with this offer. Hopefully he'll take it. He wants to play for a new team next year. Now, we did offer quite a bit amount of money there. If we wanted to franchise tag him, 17 mil, that's about what we were offering, so we could definitely do that. Let's see what our other options are first. Mike Schoonmaker, do want to keep him around. Again, he doesn't have as much interest, so we'll have to boost these numbers a little bit here. And he's in, so 1 of 2. Now, Zach Seiler, another guy who does not have much interest, but he's been really good for us. We'll offer him a 1-year deal, raise up the salary, and why not, we'll raise up the bonus a little bit as well. And he will stay. And of course, I want to keep around the UDFA quarterback in Quayshawn Alden. He did really well while out there. We're gonna give him a 2-year deal worth 3 mil per season, and we've got a backup quarterback for the future. Now, everyone else here we're gonna be moving on from for now. Chris Wormley, Cooper Rush, Xavier Henderson. We'll look for other offensive linemen. Brian Allen might be the best possible center for us to bring back, so we'll see there. Andrew Voorhees, Okorafor, Matt Waletsko, maybe? I don't know. Juan Jones, Tavier Thomas, Josiah Scott, and then Mike Onwenu we will be giving the franchise tag. And open free agency for us would be pretty quick and easy. We did sign 5 total players. City So, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, he's going to come in and he's probably going to end up playing center. Now, I did try to re-sign Allen. However, he decided he wanted to go play for the Giants. So we pretty much switch him out with a similar overall, but a slightly younger player. Works out perfectly fine for me. Past him, we also signed Andrew Wiley because we lost some depth offensive linemen, so we got at least a pretty good one back. And we did re-sign Kirk Cousins. Essentially, he's the last option we really have for a good push towards the playoffs, but primarily we brought him in because he now has that mentor tag, and we're trying to get in that rookie. Juan Jones returns, and we brought in Caleb Murphy. I don't know if he's been on this squad yet, but essentially he's coming in for depth for the outside linebacker spot. So nothing all too flashy. We have at least 1 starter and then some backup or rotational guys. Pretty quick and easy. And now hopefully we'll be saying the same about the draft. Now, this is the quarterback again we've been talking about, Bernard Elliott, a top 5 projection. We know that the talent grade is around 2 to 3. I think that's honestly a little bit low, but he's still probably going to be our best option. He's a scrambler type at 6'3", 223, 21 years old, out of Michigan State. A sub 4.7, barely, but still, with good throw power. All looking really promising there. A, short accuracy with B for both medium and deep. He can throw under the pressure, throw on the run. It's the awareness that's a little bit concerning. As for his injury, really solid. That's up at an A, so you don't have to worry about that. You just have to worry about maybe some fumbles with the D carrying. But all in all, he should be a pretty good quarterback for us, and he's not the only talent in this class. There's also a day 3 running back that doesn't look too bad in Deontay Sheldon. He's out of Eastern Michigan at 5'10", 208, pretty decent size, plus he could run very fast and has some decent strength to his game. He doesn't have, the big moves for the juke or the spin, but honestly, those always end up being pretty decent. He has the carrying, he has the ball carrier vision. He's not great at breaking the tackle. He would be a depth guy behind Walker, but he could probably be pretty serviceable with catching A to B. A little bit further down the board here, we got Roy Dickens, a tight end out of Michigan, day 3 once again at 6'5", 246. He runs pretty decent 40 as well, decent bench reps. Overall, he's just a very decent looking talent with some hands, with some run blocking. He wouldn't be taking over for Schoonmaker or for Conklin, but could be that third guy for sure. There is an offensive lineman in Philip Nowak, but he doesn't look as intriguing as some of the other day 3s. And then getting over to the defensive side, there is Jeremiah Hendricks, and he looks like he could be an intriguing outside linebacker. This is just a spot that is very iffy when making selections, because he's listed as a run stopper, and he supposedly has some decent coverages, but as an outside backer, those could probably be in the 50s even, with the man and zone both being C's. But block shedding B, tackling is an A. He could definitely be a solid developmental guy, someone to sit behind, maybe even get some rotation in. It's a possibility. But the main focus for this defense is in the secondary, where we have Reggie Hawkins, a projected 1-2 is actually a top 5 talent. We knew Dylan Carrington was probably going to be a little bit lower, and I feel like the round of 3 to 4 is actually a pretty good fit. But we have 2 guys at the top of this class I really want to bring in. Hawkins is 5'11", 181, 22 years old out of Central Michigan. He's got speed. He's not extremely strong. 13 to 9 bench reps, so I guess it depends on the day. But everything else, he's a really top athlete. He has man coverage, he has press, he has zone coverage. His catching, not too bad either. That's also a B. The awareness is a B. Play rec is a C. Injury is an A, so we don't have to worry about that. He's got some hit power, some decent tackling. It would be fantastic to bring him in, and the cornerback group has been lacking. And then, of course, there is Dylan Carrington, which would be a backup. He doesn't have any of the zone coverage. A little bit of some press, has some man. But there is definitely, this is by far the best draft class we've had in this Michigan State-only challenge. We just have to find a way to get both Bernard Elliott as well as Reggie Hawkins. And if you look at Mock Draft 5, we are slated to pick Elliott with our first selection, 2nd overall. So very much lines up there. I don't want to miss out on the quarterback because we don't really have that next great option outside of a regressing Kirk Cousins. So what about Hawkins? They have him going down at 26. So we would have to trade back up inside the top 25 or so to safely get both of these players. And we have an early 2nd round pick, multiple 3rd round picks, and then a whole bunch of 6th round picks. So trading up might be possible. We also could potentially even use some of next year's picks if we need, because that would be the last and final off season. How likely is it that you're going to draft someone who's going to make such a big influential difference in that final season? Kind of hard to say. So we could definitely utilize some of the 2027 draft picks if need be. For the first selection, it's going to be pretty simple. Well, at least we hope so. As this draft does begin, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only ones that could ruin the first selection for us. And they select quarterback Zach O'Neal out of Ole Miss. So they go with a quarterback, but they do not go after our quarterback. So that's good. As for quarterbacks, our guy is the next top available. And there is Corey Barber. So it seems like a lot of these top 5 guys, they're actually not as good as that. But Bernard Elliott should still be plenty good enough for us. And we finally draft a quarterback, though he is a normal dev. We'll see how much that affects things, but 91 throw power with 81 speed and 88 acceleration. He should be fun to watch. But now this is where the more drama part gets to. I'm going to get us to around the 20th selection. If Hawkins has not gone, then we will trade up and make sure we get our corner. Now we've made it down to spot 20 where the Jets are slated with this pick. We're offering our second, so they're going to have to drop 14 spots. We'll give them a third and 2 sixes. Probably are going to need to give them more, but how close does this get us? Not too far off. So we've shaken up the offer a little bit. We're giving them a 2, 3, 4, and then 2 earlier of our bundle of 6-round picks. Well, that get the job done just a hair off. So let's tack on one of our 7th round picks, and that should be enough. Spot 220. To move up to spot 20, we could go get our corner. So just as I was hoping, little drama, simple, easy, Reggie Hawkins is in, and I imagine he was going to be the hidden dev. He is 94 speed, 92 acceleration with 91 jumping, 89 agility, 88 jumping. Did I already say jumping? 91 change of direction, 92 agility. I don't know what I said. Either way, he's a really phenomenal athlete. But now from here, we do not have a pick until later on in the 3rd round. Before we decide to jump to that, let's just take one more look here at our board, what our options are in that range. Obviously, there is the run stopper, hesitant on actually going with him there. Dylan Carrington could be there. That talent grade is around 3 to 4, so it would be the latter end of it. We don't necessarily need to bring him in. He wouldn't be a starter for us, so I'm okay jumping, and we could go with either Hendricks or Carrington, depending on who's available. After that, we do not have a 4th round pick, so it's gonna have to be one or the other. And as we get to our selection, over to the favorites are either even still available. Well, the linebacker Hendricks is still there, as well as Carrington. It could very well be that both have also dropped, so who would be more impactful for us? Right now, we have 3 different guys down the middle for this linebacker group, so Hendricks probably wouldn't get any starting spots there. Potentially, could Carrington rotate in? Possibility. There's also the running back a day 3 and the tight end day 3. Let's go after Dylan Carrington here. Getting some depth at the cornerback spot, which has been getting older and not really progressing much. So Dylan Carrington is in. He's a normal dev with 87 speed, 95 acceleration. Curious to see if there's any sort of position flexibility with the speed being lower than a 90. And as we get to our spot here in the 5th round, we do not have the option for Harrington. So as predicted, it was going to be one or the other. So where could we go here? Again, 5th round, so we're in the day 3s. We could start knocking off some of these options that we do have, Devontae Sheldon or Roy Dickens. So we didn't see a whole lot of play from the backup running backs last year. We did see play from the backup tight ends. So how about we go after Roy Dickens here? Day 3, 6'5", it's a pretty good size. He has the speed, he has a little bit of that bench reps. Might be good for helping to stretch the field. He does have that vertical threat archetype. Roy Dickens is a normal dev, 82 speed, 88 acceleration with 71 strength, 84 agility. All in all, not too bad of a tight end. Now in the 6th round, where we still have 4 selections and 3 7th round picks, we probably are not going to be using all these and we'll be trading away most of them. But we're going to spend this 6th round pick on Devontae Sheldon, bring in a depth running back who could very well see some playing time out there, back up at least for 3rd downs. I feel like he would fit that role pretty well. He's a normal dev with 92 speed, 91 acceleration, 89 agility, 86 change of direction, a little bit of some strength and jumping mixed in there. He might also be a returner for us. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I think I accidentally skipped one of our selections. So we just have 2 6th round picks left and then 3 7s. We'll see who we ended up drafting and if it was even a possible person for us to use. But now there is no draftable talent left here on our board. So I think we bundle up these picks and we give it to someone and see what all we could bring in for it. And it seems like the best offer is going to be for 2 picks next year from the New England Patriots, a 4th round and a 6th round. A lot of teams are offering either just a 4th or a 4th and a 7. So we at least move up into the 6th round here with the Patriots. Feel like that'll be pretty solid. And it turns out the guy that we accidentally drafted is an available player for us. It was another running back in Kai Williams out of Michigan at 6 foot 233. Yeah, 233. So he's a big dude who's decently quick for the size. He has some trucking. That's not something I feel like we have too much of on this team. Overall, I think the ratings actually aren't too bad considering he's only a 60 overall. I'm not hating on those. Does he have any run blocking ability? Not really, so he's not going to be a fullback by any means. Practice squad running back. But as for the guys that we did draft, overalls are not too bad. Would have liked a little bit more here, if I'm being honest, from Bernard Elliott, a 72 normal dev. It's still a higher overall than Kirk Cousins is at this point, 71. And the accuracies are okay. You would have liked these to be a little bit higher. I imagine the short accuracy is going to be closer to like an 86, 87, with the medium and deep being closer to an 80. So we'll see how he does. He might surprise us, and hopefully he does, and we quickly grow the normal to something far better. But we needed a quarterback to build for. We have him. But by no means is he the highest overall player we drafted, as Reggie Hawkins is a 77 hidden dev. And right now he's getting some coaching boosts. He's a 79 and definitely day one starting talent. Whether he has to play in the slot, he could do that with 61 tackling. He's got some press, man, zone, very well balanced. Dude can fly around. He's technically not a number 1 corner in terms of his NFL rankings at a 79. Not even in the top 2 spots there, but I feel like he could quickly grow. And with him having that hidden dev, hopefully we see him grow rather quickly. Past those two, everyone in a very tight group of overalls, 70, 69, and a 71 in Devontae Sheldon. So I actually figured that running back would be pretty decent, and he actually was. As for Carrington, he does the normal dev, very much a man-specific guy. He can't tackle, that's a 57. I was hoping he would have decent tackling and could maybe play some strong safety. He's gonna be a depth corner, but we needed some young guys at that spot, so he still ends up being a pretty decent fit. As for the tight end in Roy Dickens, he's getting a coaching boost up to a 70. And yeah, he's got some solid hands, a little bit to work on there, but the spec catch, not bad. Catching traffic is all right. A little bit some short route running, good acceleration. All in all, he should be pretty solid with some run blocking ability. So solid, do-it-all tight end. And then Devontae Sheldon, 71, not getting any boosts. But he's got speed. Break tackle we knew wouldn't be as big, but the carrying looks really good. We should not have to worry about that at a 90. Ball carrier vision a little bit low at a 78. I expected that to be a little bit higher, but change of direction is up at an 86. Is he much of a returner? 82. He could definitely do that. He's got hands, 69 catching. Be a solid kind of almost, again, do-it-all running back behind Kenneth Walker if he ever needs to take a break. And here is the starting lineup moving into season 4. Obviously, we're starting Elliott. If he does not perform, Kirk Cousins is that backup plan. We also have Alden, who did pretty well in this scheme last year, and if need be, he could also probably step in. Kenneth Walker, we need to be carrying almost the team. If Elliott is struggling, we need a strong running game. None of our receivers are anything more than a normal dev, but Nico Collins and Sky Moore stay on the outside. Fortunately, haven't had any opportunity to upgrade at the receiver spot. We pretty much have the best options outside of Donovan Peoples-Jones. Offensive line, outside of So, is staying the exact same, and Schoonmaker has earned the final starting tight end spot over Conklin. Both are 75 true overall. We're going to give it to the young guy. He's performed well. On the defensive side, again, not much of a change. Seiler, Hurst, and Thomas, the main 3 guys for the defensive line. Spillane and Barnes, main 2 guys for the linebackers. Pay on one side, O'Shea on the other. Safeties still Daxton Hill and Metellus. The only real change is at the cornerback spot, with the rookie hidden dev in Hawkins getting the start at cornerback 2. Sean Murphy Bunting over at 1, and Ambry Thomas is still going to be the slot guy, moving us over to the specialist. Rush for the defensive line stays the same. Spillane back in the normal starting spot for the linebackers after we saw Lacey actually do pretty well last year, but we're going with the highest overall. Running backs pretty much the same. Walker across the board, though Sheldon will get the 3rd down backup running back spot, and Haskins will be the backup power back. Bell is still going to be our starting slot receiver. There's Eskridge, and he's just declined, and Fitzgerald has kind of started to grow a little bit, but we're sticking with Rodney Bell. So with all that finally done and said, it's time to get Season 4 underway, but we are not going to be fully jumping into this first game. Instead, we're going to sim through it in the watch portion, kind of like a quarter sim, but get through it a little bit quicker, as I want to get through the first about half of the season, see where this team is at, and then if need be, check in on the draft class, and then maybe make some trades to further try to boost us if we need it. So let's start by jumping into this Packers game slightly, see how well it goes. This is the first big game here for Elliott, and defense doesn't start off too well. We give up a touchdown, we get a field goal back, and the first quarter ends 3-7. Can we have a better second quarter? We hold, just give up the field goal, and finally we level this one up, but then give up a drive, but then score right before half. So a whole lot happened late on there in that second quarter, but it's 17-17 as we begin the second half. Packers drive, retake the lead. We drive, and it looks like we were about to score as we start this fourth quarter. Or not, but then we score a little bit later. It's 24-24, driving into overtime. Well, that makes me want to slow things down a little bit then. Obviously, it could all end in one play, and we start out on offense. As we begin, it's a 6-yard rush for Bernard Elliott. Again, he is that scrambler archetype. We hand it off to Sheldon, so he's getting involved a little bit as well. We pick up the first down on third down to Nico Collins. Then a throwaway, 3rd and 5 after the gain of 5. Need to convert, but it's a 1-yard loss. Up at the 44. You could go for it. It's risky, 4th and 6. Why not? Let's punt it away. Rely on this defense to get the stop. They did pretty well in that second half. Jahmyr Gibbs, though, starts off with 8, then 7 as they're moving, but then they lose 3. Someone got a tackle for loss. Gain 11, bringing up 3rd and 2. And it's a penalty on Zach Seiler, giving them a free set of downs. They just need a field goal, and they're about in field goal range as Jason Stills pops off for 26. 5 more to Gibbs. They pick up a first down, 8 to Gibbs. Definitely in range now. All they have to do is run it. Knocked away by Mike Morris. 3rd and 7. It's a throwaway, and the field goal is blocked. We are not done yet. Madden is telling me here we got to jump in and watch. Well, I was not trying to watch any of this first game, but clearly went into overtime. Should have been a game-winning field goal blocked. We got to jump out, see what we could do, as it's a gain of 8. Kenneth Walker, 21 carries, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. That is what we need from him. Curious to see, though, how Elliott has done in his debut. As we go with a stretch, Walker, interesting run, but he picks up the first down. He definitely could have tried to break it to the outside or something else there, but we'll take the first, always. We're up to the 44, out in a tight shotgun. As we go back down the middle, Walker stood up by the DT. Obviously, I've said a couple times, want to go Walker's way, but maybe throw occasionally here, as we're about at the minute-and-a-half mark before the end of overtime. Not trying to play for a tie in week 1. Want the win. Jake Moody has a decent leg to him as we're closing in. Will be the first throw that we've seen from Elliott, as it's barely getting out there. It was wobbly, but it's brought in by Sky Moore to the 37. Though only his second catch on the day, 24 total yards. Need more from wide receiver 2. But we're in field goal range. We don't need anything crazy here. Walker stretched to the outside, wrapped up, gain of 1 as we call a timeout. I'd imagine we just run it a couple times, send out Moody, and call it done. Though that's probably what the Packers were thinking, as they do not stop Walker. He runs through a couple different players as Leonard Ainsworth shaken up. Always hate seeing injuries in week 1. Packers have a 3rd and 4 here. As we go down the middle, Walker, who's not going to get the first down. Last timeout for the Packers called, unless they block it. This is the winner. Moody from the 37-38. It is right down the middle. It's a win in week 1, heavily carried by Walker III. And it just seems like this team wants to play close games this year. We got away with the win in week 1, but that would not be the case in the following 2 weeks as we dropped one to the Jaguars and the Buccaneers, both extremely close, 17-14 against the Jaguars. We had just over 300 yards ourselves. We gave up about 330. And it's not been a bad start for Bernard Elliott, just very field general-esque, just managing the game. Nothing spectacular, but nothing bad. And the running has been really well. Kenneth Walker III, about 6 yards a carry here. We're one of the top, I believe, 5 rushing offenses. It's our passing game that isn't doing anything too special, but we're definitely focusing in on Walker. In the receiving game here, you're going to see probably something that's going to be kind of synonymous through the first start, and that is we are giving up a lot of yards to receivers. 87 to Debo on 6 catches. Hillhouse 71 on 4. Demario Douglas, not as crazy, 6 catches, 51. Dawson Knox, though, about still 10 yards. So we're giving up near 10 yards every time someone catches the ball. We gave up a touchdown to Debo Samuel and Hillhouse, though we did get one from Nico Collins. And Devontae Sheldon even got out there. He had 2 catches for 2 yards, but one of them was a touchdown. So that is great. Young guy getting involved fairly often already. As for the rest of the defense, I mean, it's been okay, but the defense needs to step up. Barnes is someone I'm concerned if he's the reason that we're giving up so many yards, though. Having seen the stats that we just saw there, a lot of the guys who are getting yards are going to be on the outside. Debo maybe coming across the middle. It's either a safety spot or a middle linebacker spot that we might need to make a move at. But I do have to give a shout out to Maurice Hurst. Despite continually getting older, he continually gets multiple tackles for loss a game. 3 in that one. Barnes, Thomas, Seiler, and Pay each had 1. And we got some sacks as well. 1 for Thomas and Pay, and then split between Barnes and Seiler. In the Bucs game, it was a close game. Once again, 2 points this time, and we were able to score 6 points in that fourth quarter, but we gave up a field goal. And then once again, the total yardage about the same, a little bit less for us, but pretty much the same for the Buccaneers. It wasn't a clean game from Elliott. He did throw an interception, sub 60% complete, but it wasn't anything crazy. He did also rush for a touchdown in this one. And Kenneth Walker, 4 yards a run, did have a touchdown. Receiving wise, what was the worst? Jalen Waddle, 4 catches, 48. Not awful, but still a first down to catch. Christian Watson, 2 touchdowns. A little bit less than a first down a catch. So slightly better, but still it's about a first down per catch. So we might need to look at what possible moves could be made. Right now, I would say our weakest spots for the defense is possibly strong safety, but most likely it is the inside backer. Spillane is a 74, Barnes 73, and Lacey is 72. When we look at the cover ratings from our linebackers, it's nothing spectacular, but we need something to happen. Now, Barnes has been flying around a good bit. Do we replace Spillane? Is he the one that's giving up too much in coverage? He has the best awareness and play rec. Do we have any other options that are viable at this point? Well, the highest overall option for us would be Devin Bush with the Raiders, and he's someone I believe we've tried to trade for before. Now, the coverage ratings for him, though, they're not going to be any better. In fact, at least the zone is worse. Man might be similar to some of our other guys. The awareness is a little bit better, and then the play rec about on par as well with at least Spillane. So I don't even feel like he would be much of an improvement. If we want to look at maybe the safety spot, Josh Metellus did just get up to an 80 overall, and he doesn't have terrific coverage ability, a 75 true zone and a 69 true man. So his ratings aren't fantastic, and I can't say he's necessarily made big plays throughout this series. And obviously there is Jabril Peppers, who could be a solid guy to pick up. He does have better coverage ability, much better coverage ability. However, he is injured. And even if he wasn't, I am not all too sure the Commanders would be looking to trade him. Maybe we would get lucky in the fact that he's 30 years old and maybe they're trying to move off of him. But right now he doesn't have the trade veteran tag. So we might just have to wait a little bit longer. And that wait might even have to take us into the offseason if we can't turn things around this season. There is Ronald Richards out of Michigan, 6 foot 239. He's a round 3 to 4, so who knows if he would be truly talented enough to start. All we know from him is that he has B tackling, and there's not many other options. Maybe Marshall, but he's a potential undrafted, and no one at right outside linebacker. We also don't really have any top end safety options. There is a day 3 in Brian Peak, but he does not have any zone. Okay, man. And at strong safety, there's Manny Blackburn, potential undrafted, and he has F zone coverage and C man coverage. So if there's anything that could happen in the next offseason, it would maybe be Ronald Richards. But after the first few games, already people are wondering, is the team struggling because of Elliott, or is it this the team in general? And I think the team in general needs to step up. Elliott hasn't played awful, only 1 turnover, 4 or 5 total touchdowns. We need more from the rest of this team. And a great way to do that would be a quick sweep of a divisional foe, as we're once again playing against the Packers, and we carry a touchdown lead through the end of the first quarter. 7-0, though, it quickly becomes a 7-7 game. Packers take a lead close to half and will extend it just before 13-7 as we get into the third quarter. And we take a lead rather quickly, growing it even more. We hit the fourth quarter 28-13, a dominant third quarter there for us. We just need to finish this game strong. We have a 15-point lead. Packers narrow it down to 8. But defense will hold on through, and it's a quick sweep of the Packers, 28-20. Best way to get to the playoffs is to win your division. A sweep after just 4 weeks, that'll definitely help. And following week 6, we would be sitting at 500. 3 wins, 3 losses, as we had another close loss. It's a 1-score game against the Dolphins, 14-7, when we just struggled to get 1 point, but yards even, as we were under 200 total in this one. Bernard Elliott just continues to be a maybe slightly subpar field general. I mean, 57% completion isn't great, 132 yards, but didn't have any turnovers. Did have a touchdown, and Ty Mobley, the third-year quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, 1 touchdown, 58%. So both these quarterbacks played very similarly. It was just Isaiah Pacheco who had the better game. Though it wasn't a bad one from Kenneth Walker, 5.5 yards per carry. It was just only 10 carries. We just struggled to stop most of their running backs, though. Pacheco, just under 5 yards a carry, 25 carries, 120 yards, had a touchdown. Blackshear had 9 carries for 30, 3.3 yards, same as the quarterback as well. So we just need to get this offense boosted somehow, some way. Ronnie Bell was our best receiver in that one, 64 yards on 5 catches, 1 touchdown. And their best, I say you would give it to Marquise Brown, 5 catches, 50, and a touchdown, but nothing all too crazy from this game. Robert Spillane, 12 tackles. We had some tackles for a loss, and we were the only team to have any tackles for a loss. Spillane with 1, as well as Hill, Ojabo, and Robbie Thomas, who did have a sack, though was not the leading sack artist in this game. That went to Eric Armstead, 2.5 for the Miami Dolphins, as well as Thornton, who had 1.5. Thomas was our best, but we split another sack with Barnes and Uche, and then another couple split here for the Dolphins. So clearly our offensive line wasn't holding up that well in this game, and I would just love to have the stat on here to see who was giving up catches. Ambry Thomas at least deflected 2, as well as Barnes and Dowling each with 1, and they only knocked away 1. But I need this offense to step up, and then we at least put out our most amount of points. Yeah, our most amount of points this season against the Jets, 29-17, and that included 12 points in that fourth quarter, though still only 233 yards. So we're just not racking up the yardage. Bernard Elliott, 116 yards, throwing 2 touchdowns, though. 1 interception, 60% complete, and against another rookie in Darrell Wheaton, we had the better rookie out there. He threw for a lot more yards, more than double, but he had double the amount of interceptions and half the amount of touchdowns, though completed a couple more, 67%. Walker, still a solid day, though no touchdowns, and we did much better against the running game here, at least of Hickman. We struggled with the scrambling of Darrell Wheaton. Well, let's say struggled. He got a couple good ones, but overall, it was a well-rounded performance. We did give up a lot of yards here to the rookie Callahan. 5 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Chris Godwin, more than a first down, a catch. Tank Dell, close to a first down, a catch. And our best receiver was Schoonmaker. 5 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown, though we did get Ronnie Bell back in the end zone as well. So it seems like we do need some help at receiver. We'll check in on that in a second, as Dexter Lawrence led both teams in tackles. We had 3 guys with 6, Seiler, Thomas, and Murphy Bunting. Tackles for a loss, only 2, Robbie Thomas and Payne, but Thomas did have 2 sacks, 1 for Seiler and 1 for Hurst, and the interceptions went to Ambry Thomas and Josh Metellus. So defense, at least, honestly, the defense hasn't been all too bad. What our worst showing, we gave up 24 points. So that's really not bad. 17 was given up against the Jags. We gave up 24 in the first Packers game and the Bucks game, 20 in the second Packers, and then 14 against the Dolphins, 17 against the Jets. Defense is not playing bad. We just need the offense to get some more yards, and that should lead to more points and us winning more games. And while there is at least a draftable receiver coming in this next draft, Deion Charles out of Grand Valley State, 6'4", 215. It's a good size, but he's around 3 to 4 projection. With D release and deep route running, we're more of a medium and short, so he's not out completely, but he would be more of a slot style guy. And right now, none of our receivers are doing too well. Our best is Nico Collins. Through 6 weeks of games, he is still under 300 yards, less than 50 a game. It's not good enough, so we need to make some change here. And I can't even say it's on the quarterback, because right now, Bernard Elliott, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's throwing to when guys are open and he's not taking risks. So if we wanted to make some trades, here are our options. Jaden Reed, 26 years old. He's an 83 overall. He's a star dev. Again, none of our receivers are anything more than a normal. With Reed, you do not have any release. So he would have to play in the slot. He has short, medium route running, fits the style of gameplay that we run. Would we be able to trade for him? The Cowboys, they don't want to give him up. The second option would be Donovan Peoples-Jones, an 82 overall, actually an 83. He has a morale taking effect. He's a star dev, and he does have the release, still with a short, medium route running, but he could play on the outside, and we have several different options that already can play the slot, and not many that can play on the outside. So Peoples-Jones would make a better candidate for us to trade, but still they're saying that there aren't any trade packages we could come up with. And that's something I think we need to test here. So in terms of what we could give up, well, obviously we have our full set of picks here plus a little bit extra. We only have 1 draft left we could use, and we have more picks available to us. I'm perfectly fine using these. I'm just curious, just using this as a test, what would a 3 or where would a 3 put us? And it's still pretty low. Now, Donovan Peoples-Jones is their second receiver. So if we wanted to send them a receiver in change, we could definitely do that. Sky Moore versus Ronnie Bell. Those are going to be our 2 options to play in the slot if we were to bring in Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, Sky Moore, he has some ability. Honestly, I feel like we've seen better from Ronnie Bell, but the route running is pretty well balanced. He could at least do all of it. He has some release. That might help out a little bit in the slot. He has great after the catch ability. As for Ronnie Bell, what separates these 2? Well, you're going to have better short and medium route running, lesser deep, but you don't really have too many deep shots from that slot. But he is slightly lower speed and not going to be as impactful after the catch. If we were to make this trade, which one of these 2 receivers do they have more interest in? And they really don't have more interested in either of them. But let's say we wanted to offer Ronnie Bell. Where does that put us? More than a 3rd round pick. So if we do Ronnie Bell and a 2nd round pick in a future draft we can't use, really close. So we'll tack on a 5th and a 6th from that same 2028 draft. And that gets the job done. We have a new receiver in Donovan Peoples-Jones, and hopefully that helps elevate this offense. And while I think Ronnie Bell is doing a pretty good job out there, I think we just need to have the highest overalls possible. So bringing in Donovan Peoples-Jones, keeping Sky Moore, we're going to have a little bit more speed at that slot spot. And better all around route running. So it's going to be Sky Moore moving to the slot. And that trade comes in at a dire part of this season, as our next 2 games are the first one against the Bears and then following against the Vikings. 2 teams that we've struggled to get wins against. We've gotten some good games against the Bears. Vikings, less so. But we need to stack together some wins here if we're to climb back up. The Bears, they're 6-0 so far this season. And once again, we're jumping into some quarter sim here. Want to see how well we do. We might watch a little bit of that fourth quarter, depending. First quarter, pretty clean from both sides, just 3 points as they then get a touchdown. But then we get a touchdown and hold off their touchdown. And we tend into half 10-7. So still looking for our offense to put together some drives here, get some points going. As we hit the fourth quarter, it looked like we were about to score. Let's slow things down, see if that's true. Well, a sack from Micah Parsons definitely is going to help out. 2nd and 14, we then get 6 to Devontae Sheldon, the rookie running back. And then 27 yards, Nico Collins, as we're down to the 15, but Jack Conklin shaken up on the play. Well, it's a good thing that we signed all of that depth for our offensive line, and pretty good depth. As we hand this one off, it's that Sheldon first-year running back who's had 8 carries, 33 yards. Hopefully, that does not mean that we have an injury to Kenneth Walker. That would be awful. 2nd and 6. We go back to the rookie with some space towards the top, though not going to get the stiff arm there. Nearly a touchdown, but Winfield Jr. prevents it. But we're 3 yards away from taking a lead here. As we stick in shotgun, we hand this one off, and it is stuffed to Nico Collins. Potentially actually stick with an actual running back there might work a little bit better as Haskins steps out here on 2nd and goal as we're back at the 5 now. Conklin towards the top, going to be a lead blocker for Haskins, who stays on his feet as long as he could. We're back down to the 2. Obviously would prefer the touchdown, need at least the field goal here. About 5 minutes as the clock is moving. Conklin once again in motion down to the bottom. It's a strong eye. Haskins led into the end zone. Just took that slightly second effort. And we've taken a lead for the first time today against the Bears. A must-win game. Now, unfortunately, it is an injury for Kenneth Walker III. It's an ACL sprain. He's out for the game. We'll see if that becomes a lingering injury. But for right now, we've got to focus on this defense getting the stop. We are up 4 points. We hold them to 2 on first down. Another 2 on second leaves 3rd and 6. And it's a throwaway on 3rd. A fantastic opportunity here to drain the clock. We sit with just over 4 minutes and a good chunk of the field to go as we start at the 24. It is a shotgun set, will be a throw from Elliott across the middle with a grab. Sky Moore in his first game playing that slot. Hopefully, we're going to see some better play from him. He hasn't really had that opportunity to have much run after the catch with the outside throw that he's been getting. So hopefully all of this just ends up helping us out. As we check down to the bottom, it's once again Sky Moore. Well, he's at least got 2 catches since we've started here. Right now, Elliott 13 of 19 on the day. And Moore, 5 catches, 77 yards. So definitely at least a good first impression with that change. As we now have a bunch up top, Elliott across the middle finds wide, can I not remember? Schoonmaker. That's what it is. I was thinking Schoon for some reason. Close, just didn't have the H in it. Either way, we find the tight end for another first down. As we are milking clock here, we got 3 up top, 1 down to the bottom. Letting it roll down to 2 seconds. Will be another throw from Elliott, who has to evade Micah Parsons and throw it away. So far on the day, he's had 224 throwing yards, which is far more than what we've seen from most of the games. So that is, again, good to see as we go with another handoff, Nico Collins. If we're to hand off to a running back, I would honestly prefer it be Sky Moore. I feel like or hand off to a receiver at running back. I feel like that fits a little bit more as we hit the 2-minute warning. And this is a pretty key down. 3rd and 9. I can't say we're in field goal range. We need maybe 5 more yards. As we will throw across the middle, and it's through the hands. I believe that was Donovan Peoples-Jones. But it would appear we are going for the field goal. Jake Moody It's a 58-yarder. He has amazing power, but it's the accuracy that came through for us there. We get a touchdown lead late on here, but we still need the defense to hold. This just feels like another one of those games against the Bears that's going down to the wire. It's another good game. They have less than 2 minutes to find a touchdown to send this thing to OT as they just missed their receiver. Quinn on the move there, couldn't quite put it on him. Nearly a big play, definitely got the better of our coverage. As it's 2nd and 10. Gonna be an easy check down, but it's a drop from the tight end receiver. Either way, credit that one to Barnes, knocking it away. 3rd and 10, potentially 3rd and game. They might go for it on 4th down. That's just how desperate it is, but they won't need it. A well-thrown ball that time from Quinn. Finds Curtis Samuel on the sideline. Couldn't be the perfect throw. 1st and 10, they go with a draw right down the middle. They're going to pick up 5-6 yards. Goes Hazelwood, 15 rushes, 55 yards. So a solid day's work. As they spread to either side, Quinn from the pocket, it's pretty clean, and will deliver it through the hands of Hazelwood. For some reason, we're seeing a decent amount of play from the backup safety. Hopefully that's not another injury. As Quinn dumps it off, and once again, it's through the hands of the tight end. Isaiah Likely has dropped 2 of those on this one. Barnes has knocked away 2, and now it's 4th and game. They just need 4. And they hold on to it this time. Apparently the trick is just not checking that down to the running back or your tight end. Amari Cooper, he holds on. They're under a minute left. Across the middle, Likely holds on to that one. And the Bears choose to call their first timeout thereafter. 52 seconds on the clock, they're down to the 39. They need a touchdown to tie. As they check it down to the running back Hazelwood, getting close to but not picking up the first down. Metellus and Spillane there to get the tackle, 3rd and inches. We only send 3 defensive linemen out. We're not getting much of a pass rush, and Likely holds on to that one. Thought that might have been a little bit more. We at least secure the tackle. They're down to the 13. About 20 seconds. Across the middle and down to the 1, but not quite in. Their final timeout called, 19 seconds left. A sack, tackle in bounds here will end it. Instead, it might be overtime. Curtis Samuel gets the touchdown, levels this one up 17 all. Or hold on. They have not. Instead, they're going for the 2-point conversion. Hand it off, and Metellus stuffs them. They do not get the 2-point. They will not win this game. Greed gets the best of the Bears, and they lose their first game this season. For them, their season wasn't on the line in this one, so why not? Go for the 2-point. If you get it, you win. If not, you're 6-1. But for us, it gives us hope as we're above 500. Plus, with a big win against a divisional foe, will definitely help us out. We just got to repeat. And it'll be against a team I don't think we've beat this series in the Minnesota Vikings, as they get a touchdown and a field goal in the first half. It is 10-0. Whoever wins this game is 2nd place in the division. We at least get some points, but we give up 2 touchdowns in a span of 0.2 seconds. And at half, it is 24-3. This is a very well-built Vikings team, and we clearly do not have what it takes right now to stand up to them. We get at least a touchdown, another touchdown. We at least have no longer half their amount of points, and it's a blowout loss. 38-17. This Vikings team is for real. So as we hit the halfway point, trade deadline, we are 4-4, 2 games behind the Vikings, including a loss to them, 3 games behind the Bears, including a win against them. So we're not done, but we very much need to get some win streaks going. In terms of the NFC, just in general, luckily, not a lot of teams are doing all too great. We are currently the 6th seed. Well, actually not really the 6th seed, but we're the 6th best team right now. Obviously with a couple different guys in divisions here. Bears would be in that first 4, so that would put the Vikings there at 5. You can do all the math you want, but we're close. We're still in the hunt, but we've got to put together some wins. And as it stands right now, we have the 23rd ranked offense, the 30th ranked defense. So we are not necessarily playing winning football, which is why all these games continually be so close, or we get blown out like we just did against the Vikings, which was by far our worst defensive game so far. Elliott, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 60% complete, and we'll just go ahead and say 1,400 yards, 1,395 is close enough. He's been sacked 23 times, so nothing great. However, he has thrown a 70-yard touchdown pass, so that's noteworthy. As for the running game, Kenneth Walker, 5 yards a rush. His injury was not lingering, 7 touchdowns. Sheldon hasn't really done anything crazy, but 4 yards on his attempts on average is not bad. No touchdowns for him. Bernard Elliott, only the 1 rushing touchdown, but scrambling a little bit. Haskins has 2 rushing touchdowns. Receiving wise, Nico Collins has improved a little bit over the next stretch of games, but we still are not seeing number 1 receiver numbers here. At the midway point, you would hope that your top receiver would be sitting closer to 600 yards and not 422. And the top 4 guys here, they all have 2 touchdowns. So really no one's standing out there. As for the offensive line, at least at the midway point, we don't have any double-digit sacks given up. Leader for us in tackles is Zaire Barnes, 73, and that is a big difference between him and Spillane. Tackles for a loss leader is Robbie Thomas, so he's still performing really well this season. Barnes has gotten involved a good bit in the backfield, 6, as well as Hurst. Seiler, 5. It's not too bad from the defensive line standpoint. I think it's the coverage. We've at least had some interceptions, 3 for Daxton Hill, probably the most he's had this series. Avery Thomas, Spillane, Metellus, and the rookie in Hawkins each have had 1. As for pass deflections, Ambry Thomas and Reggie Hawkins each have 4. Again, would love to know catches given up. That's the real big stat. We've forced 1 fumble, of which it is the rookie, and he also recovered himself. Have we had any safeties? Yes, we had 1 safety. It was Robbie Thomas. He also blocked a kick, which was the field goal in that first Packers game. So huge play. And we had a defensive touchdown with Daxton Hill, so he clearly had a pick 6. Kicking wise, 100% across the board for Jake Moody. We just need to see a little bit more from our receiving game. Have we improved at all defensively against the pass? We were one of the worst teams last we looked, and we are the worst team looking here. So we've got to find something. And I've come up with a plan. So this is my Hail Mary attempt here to try to fix our passing defense, and it's going to revolve moving some players around. So follow this logic. Daxton Hill, he's going to be moving to strong safety. At strong safety, Josh Metellus, he's going to be moving to a cover backer. Obviously, that leaves us a safety who doesn't have anyone playing. Well, we have a guy who might be able to get the job done, and he's sitting on the bench right now in third-year corner Chris Howard. He has the speed. He can fly around the field. He has man coverage, a little bit of some zone. The tackling is not great. But that's why we're going to put him on the back end. And hopefully rotating these guys to play this way will fix things for us. Hopefully. That's what we're going to try. Now, you might be concerned about Metellus playing linebacker. He's 207. He's 5'11". He's played inside linebacker. He's played outside linebacker. He's played corner, slot corner. He's played free safety. He's played strong safety. He's played everything on the defense in real life outside of playing defensive line. So hopefully this will help us out. Now, I don't plan on having him be out there for any of the run or the base packages because the block shedding is a 64 at best, and that's without the morale taking effect. So we'll have the other primary linebackers out there for that. But when it comes to coverage downs, he has 74 zone coverage, true 75. Man is a 69. He has good enough speed, actually that of a lot of linebackers coming out of college now. He will do well in that spot. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. And hopefully, like I said, that fixes what is the league worst passing defense. And I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself here, but we just had our best game yet. 31-13, Over the Rams, we gave up less than 300 total yards, just about 200 passing yards. So already that feels a little bit better. Elliott, over 200 passing, 2 touchdowns. Sam Howell, no touchdowns, no interceptions. We sacked him once and he had 55% completion. Meanwhile, we completed 70% of our throws. Kenneth Walker, near 7 yards per carry, 100 yards, had a touchdown. Kamara did have 2 touchdowns, 3 yards a carry, fine. Receiving, Donovan Peoples-Jones, looking good, and we switched the wide receiver 1 and 2 between Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins. Gave it to Peoples-Jones because he has the better release. Clearly that worked. He got a touchdown in this one. We did struggle against Deontay Johnson. Well over a first down, a catch, nearly 100 yards. However, he did not get a touchdown, though Schoonmaker, he did get a touchdown for us, 71 yards on 8 catches. And we really didn't see much from Nico Collins in this one. It was just 3 guys doing all of the work. But that is good news for us. We only gave up 2 catches for Darnell Mooney. We kept the tight ends locked down, so I'm happy with that performance. However, just before our bye week in week 11, we faced the Bears once again. We got lucky the last time we played against them. We very much need a sweep against them. Sweeping 2 of our 3 divisional opponents could be massive for us. The Vikings we face again in week 13, and that has been a struggle bus to say the least. Well, we will be going through the quarters of this Bears game, as we do give up a touchdown to start, though we hold throughout the rest of the first quarter, so 7-0. Second quarter, we start by giving up a touchdown, we get a field goal, and we give up 3-4 first half touchdowns. We need a whole lot more from our defense in this second half. More from our offense. Instead, we give up a little bit more points, tack on another field goal, give up a touchdown. I believe we at least get a touchdown of ourselves, but this game's not looking too promising as we have given up 45 points, losing, just gaining 16 ourselves. So what happened in this one? Well, first off, we could start with the fact that we gave up 21 points in the second quarter and 10 in the third quarter. That alone was enough to have us lose. Honestly, just the second quarter was enough to have us lose. But we definitely regressed in the passing game. We gave up 326 yards, which was, I believe, more than the total amount of yards we gave up in the previous game. Not against the Bears, but the actual previous game. Specifically, Mark Quinn, he went off. Third-year quarterback out of Arizona, 5 touchdowns. Phenomenal. 82% complete. Elliott didn't have a good game. No touchdowns, threw a pick. 59% completed. Kenneth Walker, solid as always, though he did fumble in that one, and we didn't do a great job in slowing down Hazelwood. In the receiving game, it was Amari Cooper, 100 yards on 5 catches, 3 of which were for touchdowns. Curtis Samuel, over a first down a catch, had a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster, over a first down a catch, had a touchdown. Our best guy was Nico Collins, so had a better game, but he's definitely not had a great season this year. As well as Sky Moore, he hasn't gotten involved very much either. Honestly, Schoonmaker's probably been better than Sky Moore has. As for the defense, Cam Smith led both teams in tackles. He had 8. As for ourselves, we had 2 guys with 7, Sean Murphy-Bunting and Zaire Barnes. Tackles for a loss, not a single one. We at least had 2 sacks, Barnes and Seiler. But it just was not a good performance for us. And coming off the bye, it's not going to be getting any easier. The next 2 Bills, they are 9-1. The Vikings, a team that we struggle to do anything against. So this is a highly critical part of the season. As it stands right now, we are still 4 games off the Bears. We split that series. We're 2 games off the Vikings. We lost that first one, and who knows what that second game is going to bring. So who knows? We could put some things on here late, but we're 5-5 yet again, sitting at 500. And in terms of the NFC in general, we have started to fall down the list here. There's a couple teams who are 5-5. There's a handful of teams who are 6-4. That top part is really starting to separate once again with the Bears on top, the Vikings second in the NFC. It's an extremely tough division, so we've got to do better outside of our division. And we'd actually do surprisingly well against the Bills in a losing effort, 17-14, but then from that point on, it was just bad game after bad game until the Patriots, where I guess the offense had enough and they rattled off 42 points while the defense held them to 17. Throughout this stretch, I mean, for the most part this season, the defense has been pretty good. We've had games crop up here and there, like the Vikings, where we gave up 35, Bears 45. Occasionally we do it, but for the most part, this defense has done better than I think we're probably thinking that they have. But we're in week 18, and at this point, it's pretty clear we're not making the playoffs once again. We have a chance to at least have 7 wins if we could get a win against the 12-4 New York Giants. Essentially just trying to rustle some feathers in the playoffs. That's all we have in store for us here. I plan on jumping into this one, getting to that fourth quarter, watching a little bit of some gameplay, then we'll go through the stats, and then wrap up Season 4. So we haven't really had the game of the episode, but we've tried to jump into a little bit more episodes today, and we definitely are a little bit more games in this episode today, and we definitely did that. We just weren't able to watch as much because there wasn't as much to watch, unfortunately. As we hit halftime, it's still a one-score game, 10-3. Get through the third quarter, it's now a 10-point game. As we hit the fourth quarter, let's slow things down a little bit, see where we are. And we just missed a touchdown. Unfortunately, Kenneth Walker's shaken up on the play, but Schoon, he's in the end zone, narrowing this thing back down as we hit the extra. Okay, it was delayed there up top. I was confused for a second. We do make it a field goal game. Defense, maybe do better than 13 yards given up on play 1. Thrown away by Mac Jones, 2nd and 10. Kyle Pitts with a penalty makes it 2nd and 20. We give up 14, get the stop here, 3rd and 6 or 28 yards to Tajay Spears. So we've definitely shifted things around a good bit with the defense this year. And at stretches, they were playing pretty well. There was also stretches where they weren't playing pretty well. So we'll need to clean that up for one final year as we do get the sack. None other than Robbie Thomas. He just gives Robeson vibes. If you guys are Vikings fans, you know who I'm talking about. That dark face mask, I think, is what does it. But it's a throw up top, and it gets picked. That's going to be possibly a pick 6. Honestly, couldn't tell you who it is. Headed down the sideline. I believe that is the corner that we moved to safety, Chris Howard. Well, at least that move paying dividends here as we take the lead in Week 18. Good for him to get that. That's going to be some nice XP because I don't believe there's a safety for us to go after in this next draft class. So he probably will be our starting free safety moving into next year, barring anything crazy that happens, as the Giants are once again moving and they're once again in plus territory. So essentially, you can probably tell we're watching anything when we get into plus territory. They come out with a heavy set, 3 tight ends up top, handing it off, cutting down the middle, and picking up more yards than they probably should have. It's a gain of 6. Probably should have been limited to 3. Now, there is a linebacker. We'll talk about the draft class slightly after we get through the game and get through some of these stats. But there is a solid option for us in the draft for a linebacker. And clearly, we've had to make some changes with that spot. We put Metellus there for the last half, and can't really say it's fixed things all too well. We'll see with the stats at the end, as that should have been a touchdown CeeDee Lamb. Howard just a couple steps late to get over there. The corner got beat, and that is the rookie at the top in Hawkins. With a pass across the middle, it is Pitts, who's not going to get very far, and he's also shaken up on the play. The tackle came in low, and it looked like it was a lower body injury. He'll head to the sideline, leaves 3rd and 5 with a throw across the middle, and it's knocked away with a timely hit. But the Giants not done on offense yet, going for it here. They're down 4 points just outside the 2-minute. Mac Jones going for the end zone, and it's tipped away. Defense gets the stop, and the offense could head out to milk some clock. We're up 4. They do have 3 timeouts, so we need at least a first down. As we hand it off down the middle, it's Haskins who picks up 1. And considering I haven't ran a snap with this team this year, let's try to finish off this game. We got Elliott back here with the split set as we look for a read option who does not get a juke. All right, so Elliott is not much of a moves kind of guy. He has some decent speed, and we might have to see that here on 3rd and 9. Need to at least convert something here, as Elliott will pick up the first down, and he holds on to it up to the 40. The final timeout is called. So barring a near 60-yard touchdown here, we'll probably just be running a few plays, running out the clock, as Haskins can't find the edge there despite how open it was. We'll give some credit there, though, to Jones. It was a good run stop on the edge, as they're letting this clock just roll down. Just outside a minute left. Once again, going with some read option. Elliott trying to get to the outside. It's good contain, and there's not much of a stiff arm there. Obviously, risky to go with that kind of play. You could fumble it, but what's it really going to hurt? As we go with the counter, Haskins with a lead block, but definitely not going to be the first down, but does run us to one last win here in Week 18. And it came off another really solid performance from this defense. Defense even won us the game with that pick six. So shout out for the defense. For the most part this year, they had better play, I think, than the offense. Offense was even more spacey than the defense. But let's go check these stats. And we officially end with the second worst offense, 31st. And defense apparently was so bad that they didn't even rank us. So let's take a little bit of a further look here. In terms of total offensive yards, we had the second least. And that was just counting yards gained. We actually lost near 400, as our total was a good bit worse. We were still second worst, though. Passing wise, we had the second worst passing offense. Rushing wise, we had, looks like maybe a little bit closer to middle of the pack, slightly above middle of the pack. So the running game still very much the forefront. And we were, again, about average in terms of points per game. Nothing crazy for us, a lot of work to do. Second worst in first down. So clearly our offense, I mean, we knew it was a struggle, and it was a struggle. We gave up the second most amount of yards, and it was a pretty close margin. 34 points. Chiefs were slightly worse than us, though they did a lot better in passing yards given up. We were not the worst. We slightly improved there to third worst. Rushing yard wise, we were bottom half, but not completely awful. Points allowed, we were, looks like about midway. Yeah, about average. Sacks 33. Again, sitting about average. Fumbles, I don't think we actually forced any interceptions. Looks like we're probably going to be the latter half. Still about average. So we slightly improved the second half, but the team by no means is looking hot. Individually, Bernard Elliott didn't have a bad year. Slightly under 3,000 passing yards. That number not great, but 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 61% completion. He was very much just a manager out there. He didn't really put the team on his shoulders. That was Kenneth Walker III's job, and he very much let him have it. Though he was sacked 43 times. That's not very good at all. In terms of rushing yards, Kenneth Walker III, 1,319, 11 touchdowns. He fumbled once. He averaged 82.4 yards a game. He had 45 broken tackles. Elliott, he ran around a little bit. He had 2 touchdowns. Haskins had 4 touchdowns. Unfortunately, the rookie running back, Devontae Sheldon, he didn't score any rushing touchdowns. But we did get a rushing touchdown for the fullback in Trey Givens. Receiving, Sky Moore ended up being the number 1. That's how bad this receiving group was this year. They very much were a letdown by far. 740 is our best receiver. He did have 8 touchdowns, being Sky Moore. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he averaged 12 yards, about 13 yards a catch. Only 43 yards a game, had 5 touchdowns. Nico Collins, his worst year by far. Schoon, that's pretty on par. That's really what he does. Sheldon did have, though, a receiving touchdown. Blocking-wise, who let it all up? Raymond has been very inconsistent, that's for sure, and so did not have a good year taking over for Allen. Defensively, Barnes did crack 100 tackles, 103. He did get some of his playing time cut, obviously. As for the tackles for a loss, 11 for both Seiler and Thomas, so a pretty decent defensive line here for us. Hurst was injured for a good bit at the end as well. He still ended up with 10, as well as Kwity Paye. Sack-wise, a tight top 3. Robbie Thomas had 8. Seiler was 7, 6.5 for Paye. Uche, 4.5. Probably his better year, but that spot just really isn't bringing us much. And it'll probably be an area that we look to change in the offseason if we can. Daxton Hill still ends up with the 3. That's what he had at midway point, I believe. Metellus, Ambry Thomas, Spillane, Hawkins, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Chris Howard each end up with an interception. Howard obviously had the game-winning one in the very last game. So that was fun to see at least. Pass deflections, Ambry Thomas with 10 and Hawkins 9. Forced fumbles. We did force a couple more, Hill and Metellus. Of those 2 more, we still did not recover them. Kicking wise, it was a 100% year for Jake Moody. So I'm imagining Pro Bowl kicker of the year for Jake Moody. I'm hoping that with the touchdown to interception ratio, not so much the yards, that Bernard Elliott gets offensive rookie of the year, and that will at least get him to star dev for one final season in which he will very much be the highest rated possible quarterback for us. Now, I did say we're going to talk about the draft, so let's talk about that real quick. Obviously, throughout this episode, we really haven't talked about it all too much, but it's one of our deepest classes, 28 total prospects, and there are some decent options. Over on the offensive side, there's a running back I'm not too interested in. He has no vision. There is a receiver in Dion Charles out of Grand Valley State. Again, a round 3 to 4. We looked a little bit at him earlier. We know a bit more. They say he's gone up 9 spots. He's got some decent size. Looks like a decent athlete. I just don't see anything spectacular here. Medium and deep route running are D's. Short is a B to a D. There's no release. Hands are questionable. He's not going to come in and be a top-end receiver for us, so he's not going to be of pressing need. There are quite a few tight ends, and potentially with Conklin maybe retiring, maybe he's going to regress a whole lot. There are a couple different options. My favorite, though, is Tony Fowler in the round 3 to 4. He's 6'5", 255, 22 years old. Really good athlete. He's got the hands. He's got the run blocking. He's just well-rounded and could be possibly the number 2, depending again on what happens with Conklin. We also have some offensive line possibilities in the middle round in Sebastian Costa and Andy Hawkins. Both round 3 to 4s. Both look like they could be pretty solid. We struggled at center. Neither of these guys I think are, maybe Costa could be a tackle if we end up wanting to move on from Raymond, who has struggled with sacks. So we have some options in the mid round. Going to the defensive side, there is a speed rusher in Justin Gomez, 6'5", 260. He's maybe someone who could take over for that right outside linebacker spot, perhaps. He has great to elite speed, strength is solid to good, so definitely not a down defensive lineman. He's got B finesse with C power and block shed, has the awareness, has a play rec, good injury, good tackle. He's someone that we might have to draft and then flex out to that spot where we haven't seen a whole lot of success. As for defensive tackles or interior defensive linemen, we don't really have that in this class. There is late potential undrafted Chad Pete, who again looks more like an outside guy, but similar size to that of Robbie Thomas. He does have B power moves, but no block shedding or finesse. There's a day 3 DT in Carlos Sweeting, who has C power moves and finesse moves, but no block shed. Not as interesting. And then middle linebackers, a guy we kind of talked about a little bit, said we were going to talk about, Ronald Richards, 6 foot, 239, 23 years old, out of Michigan. Really solid athlete. The skills do not look too bad either. A awareness with B block shed, man coverage, zone coverage, tackling, play rec, hit power. He could be really good with A to B catching. He's someone we're probably going to have to go after for sure. There's several guys in the mid rounds, which means we could definitely maybe trade down, maybe even trade for a current player. There is one draftable safety. He doesn't look all too good. So there are some intriguing guys here in the mid rounds. Maybe a first rounder here in Justin Gomez. A lot of trench play really for this next draft class. And that's where we need a little bit of help plus linebacker. We'll see what happens next time. And that could very well be the last and final episode here of the Michigan State Only Challenge. We have failed 3 straight state only challenges. I would hate to make it 4. We need the quarterback play to step up. We need more yards. I think that comes down to the receivers. We need them to step up. We got to stop passes defensively. We've got guys to do it. We'll load up as much as we can next time, so do not miss out. Hit that bell icon on the bottom right or scroll down, hit the sub button. They both do the same thing, and subscribe to the channel. Completely free to you. It just helps grow this channel. You could also hit that bell icon so you're notified of when these videos go live. This series every single Wednesday and Saturday, plus the traditional Panthers franchise every single Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So 6 long-form videos every single week, plus the shorts highlighting all the stuff happening in these. You guys got content for days, so stick around, hope you enjoy, and Season 5 is coming up next.
How it's supposed to feel.